the very beginning of the story, we see a freezing and isolated prison deep in Siberia. The place looks completely lifeless and buried under endless snow. A group of German soldiers is standing in a line inside the camp. After World War II ended, Russia captured many German soldiers and turned them into prisoners. These men were forced to work day and night in coal mines under brutal conditions. What makes this prison even stranger is that its security is not especially strong. There are no impossible walls or advanced defenses. Even so, not a single prisoner wants to escape. The reason is far more terrifying than guards or guns. As far as the eye can see, there is nothing but snow. This prison sits about 14,000 kilometers away from any human settlement. So even if someone somehow makes it outside, surviving the deadly Siberian cold is almost impossible. In the middle of all these hopeless prisoners, there is one man who is different. He is sharp, patient, and always thinking. More than anything, he wants to get out of this frozen hell and return to his wife and daughter. His name is Kleiman Furel. He has been sentenced to spend 25 years in this prison. But Kleiman cannot accept the idea of losing half his life behind these walls. In his mind, there is only one goal: escape somehow and make it back home. Then one day, luck finally gives him a chance. Kleiman quietly hides inside a freight train that is used to carry coal. As the train moves away from the prison, he realizes he has actually made it out. The moment he leaves those prison walls behind and looks up at the open sky filled with shining stars, he feels pure joy for the first time in a long while. For a brief moment, freedom feels real, but that feeling does not last. A short distance later, the train is suddenly stopped. Kleiman carefully peeks outside and freezes. Right in front of him stands a Russian soldier with a gun pointed straight at him. His escape ends almost as soon as it begins. He is caught on the spot. As punishment for trying to escape, Kleiman is given a much harsher sentence. This time, he is thrown into an open-air cell. There is no roof over his head, no shelter at all, just the freezing sky above him and the merciless Siberian cold closing in from every side. Meanwhile, the open-air cell turns into a nightmare. There is no roof above Kleiman, only the open sky and a deadly wave of cold pressing down on him from every side. The freezing wind cuts through his body. At night, the rain makes everything even worse. He's not kept there for a few hours. He's left in that exposed cell for 2 full days. Through the non-stop cold and falling rain, Kleiman somehow forces himself to survive. Every minute feels endless, but he refuses to break. 2 days later, the next morning, the prison warden finally comes to take him out. Strangely, the warden does not torture him himself. Instead, he calmly tells Kleiman that his friends have been waiting for him. At first, Kleiman does not understand what that means, but the moment he is brought back to the other prisoners, the truth becomes clear. They are all standing there with sticks and wooden clubs in their hands. The other prisoners are furious because his failed escape brought punishment on all of them. For the past 2 days, every prisoner has been kept hungry because of what Kleiman did. Now, the warden's words make perfect sense. The instant Kleiman steps forward, the prisoners rush at him. They beat him mercilessly with sticks and clubs until he is covered in injuries. The attack is so brutal that he ends up in the prison hospital. Even the doctor there is not truly free. He's also a German prisoner. When Kleiman finally regains consciousness, he says something that shocks the doctor. He wants to escape again, and this time he needs help. The doctor can hardly believe it. After everything Kleiman has suffered, he still refuses to give up. He warns him that escaping this prison alive is almost impossible, and even if he somehow gets out, the frozen wilderness of Siberia will probably kill him before he reaches civilization. Then the doctor goes quiet for a moment and tells him an even darker truth. If Kleiman stays here, death is waiting for him anyway. The coal mines where the prisoners work are filled with dangerous carbon in the air. Little by little, it enters the body and causes severe illnesses, even cancer. In other words, whether he runs or stays, death is already closing in. And for Kleiman, that makes the choice much easier. By now, both men understand the truth. Staying in this prison is just as dangerous as trying to escape. After thinking it over, the doctor looks at Clemen and tells him that he must try one last time to get out. Then he opens his cabinet and starts pulling out everything he has saved. Warm clothes, sturdy shoes, and other supplies. He wants Clemen to leave fully prepared this time, not desperate and empty-handed. The doctor also shares one critical piece of information. He tells Clemen that Russian soldiers often hide food near railway tracks so they can reach it quickly when needed. That detail could mean the difference between life and death once Clemen is out in the frozen wilderness. Then the doctor goes even further. He gives Clemen a gun so he can protect himself if things go wrong. It turns out the doctor had secretly gathered all this equipment for his own escape one day. He had been waiting for the right chance. But a week earlier, he learned something devastating. He has cancer and probably less than a month left to live. After hearing that, he decided the chance should go to Clemen instead. Before sending him off, the doctor hands him a lunchbox and makes one final request. If Clemen survives, he must deliver it to the doctor's family and tell them that he is no longer alive. It is a quiet and heartbreaking goodbye. That same night, Clemen uses the darkness to escape once again, but this time he does not hide on a train. He chooses to go on foot. He keeps walking through the entire night, and even after morning arrives, he does not stop. Fear pushes him forward every second because he knows the Russian soldiers could catch him again at any moment. Back at the prison, the moment the warden learns that Clemen has escaped, he storms straight into the doctor's room. He already suspects the doctor helped him, but by the time he gets there, it is too late. The doctor has taken his own life. He knew that once Clemen's escape was discovered, the warden would torture him horribly. Furious, the warden immediately sends several Russian soldiers out to hunt Clemen down. His order is clear: bring him back alive. The soldiers search the surrounding area for days, but no matter how hard they look, Clemen seems to have vanished without a trace. The truth is, Clemen has one thing on his side right now: luck. Heavy snowfall keeps covering his footprints, which makes it harder and harder for the soldiers to track him. After days of searching, most people start believing that Clemen must have frozen to death somewhere in the Siberian wilderness. But the warden refuses to accept that. He knows Clemen is tougher than most men and not the kind of person who gives up easily. That is why he orders the soldiers to keep searching no matter what. At the same time, Clemen is still alive. Somehow, he keeps pushing forward through violent snowstorms and endless ice. Day after day, he keeps walking with nothing but determination holding him together. Then, on the 9th day after escaping the prison, he suddenly hears dogs barking. He quickly turns around and sees a sled rushing straight toward him. Before he can even react, it speeds past him and disappears ahead. Then, all at once, Clemen opens his eyes and realizes it was only a dream. In reality, he has been walking non-stop for 9 brutal days, and by now, all of his food is gone. Hunger and exhaustion have drained his body so badly that even taking another step feels harder with each passing hour. Still, he refuses to stop. Somehow, he gathers what little strength he has left and keeps moving forward. A few more days pass, and finally, his body gives out. Too weak from hunger, Clemen collapses in the snow and loses consciousness. Hours later, when he wakes up, he hears a strange sound nearby. He looks carefully and spots a seal in front of him. The moment he sees it, a flash of hope returns to his eyes. After all this time, survival suddenly feels possible again. Clemen quickly pulls out his gun and tries to aim with all the strength he has left, but his body is too weak and too shaky. He misses the shot and the seal starts running away. After so many days, this is the first real chance he has had to stay alive. There is no way he wants to lose it, so he immediately starts chasing after it. But in the middle of the chase, disaster strikes. The ice beneath him suddenly cracks and Clemen plunges straight into the freezing water. The fall injures his leg too. Even then, he does not stop. Ignoring the pain, he drags himself back out and keeps going after the seal, driven by pure survival. Just as Clemen is about to aim again, the seal slips behind a rock and disappears. He moves forward slowly and carefully. A moment later, he sees it again. This time, the animal is just about to jump into the water. In that exact second, Clemen fires his last bullet. Luckily, the shot hits the seal. The moment he realizes it worked, Clemen is overwhelmed with relief. For the first time in days, he no longer has to worry about starving on the journey. After so long, he finally gets to eat until he is full. He rests for a while, regains a little strength, and then starts moving again. Through this entire journey, Kleiman is completely alone. Everywhere he looks, there is nothing but endless white snow. In a place like that, a person can easily start losing their mind. To keep himself going, Kleiman keeps talking to himself. He repeats words of encouragement again and again so he does not give up. He also keeps checking his compass so he will not lose direction in the frozen wilderness. This continues day after day, and before he even realizes it, 2 full months pass. After walking for that long, Kleiman suddenly notices something unbelievable in the middle of the white emptiness. A tiny tree. The sight fills him with joy. He runs to it and hugs it like it is proof that life still exists. For Kleiman, this little tree means one thing. He has finally crossed the endless icy plain and reached the edge of a new region. A little farther ahead, that hope turns out to be true. The endless stretch of snow starts fading away and a dense forest begins in front of him. After being surrounded by nothing but ice for so long, he feels an enormous sense of relief. He gathers wood from the forest, lights a fire, and for the first time in months, he finally sleeps in real comfort. But the next day is going to bring another disaster. Back at the prison, the warden still refuses to let the hunt end. He orders his search party to keep looking for Kleiman everywhere within a 500-kilometer radius. Meanwhile, Kleiman continues moving deeper through the forest. Then, without warning, a violent snowstorm tears through the area. The wind is so strong that even huge trees begin ripping out of the ground and crashing down. Kleiman tries to keep moving, but suddenly a massive tree breaks and falls directly on top of him. Luckily for him, that same evening, 2 men happen to pass through the area. They are traveling through the region in search of gold. The 2 men spot Kleiman just in time and manage to save his life. After that, the 3 of them continue the journey together. Days later, they finally make it out of that long frozen stretch. Further ahead, they come across a river. To get across, they build a small boat out of wood. As they float down the river, the mood briefly softens. They start talking and sharing stories from their childhood. For a moment, it almost feels like normal life again. But then, everything changes. The river current suddenly gets much stronger and their little boat starts slipping out of control. In the chaos, one of the men loses his balance and falls straight into the water. He does not know how to swim, so he begins sinking almost immediately. The second Kleiman sees this, he jumps into the freezing river without hesitation. Fighting the icy current with all his strength, he manages to grab the man and keep him above water. After a brutal struggle, he finally drags him back to shore and saves his life. But while Kleiman is risking everything to help, their third companion shows his true nature. He's greedy and selfish. Thinking both men will probably drown, he abandons them and moves on alone. He even takes his companion's gold with him. A little later, when Kleiman and the rescued man finally reach the tent, the man realizes what happened and becomes furious. In a burst of rage, he grabs a gun and shoots his greedy partner dead. After that, Kleiman and the surviving man gathered their things and continue traveling together. For months, the 2 of them keep moving forward, hoping that sooner or later they will find some kind of human settlement. But time keeps passing and winter returns once again. The forests around them are covered in a thick white layer of snow. The man is carrying a heavy load and walking through the snow becomes harder and harder for him. Seeing this, Kleiman tries to help. He tells the man to hand over the bag for a while so the weight will be easier to manage. But instead of feeling grateful, the man suddenly becomes suspicious. He starts thinking Kleiman wants to steal his gold too. Driven by fear and mistrust, he attacks Kleiman and shoves him hard. Kleiman falls and loses consciousness. Sometime later, he wakes up and realizes something terrifying. A pack of wolves is moving toward him. To save himself, he quickly begins climbing a nearby tree. But just as he starts pulling himself up, one of the wolves lunges forward and clamps onto his leg. At that exact moment, the tree, which is already weak, snaps in the middle and Kleiman falls back to the ground. Now he is sure this is the end. The wolves are closing in and there is nowhere left to go. Then suddenly, gunshots echo through the area. Kleiman slowly opens his eyes and sees several wolves lying dead while the rest run off into the forest. A group of local hunters has arrived just in time and saved his life. The hunters take Kleiman back to their village, where the people treat his injuries and care for him. After years of pain, struggle, and endless survival, Kleiman has finally reached a real human settlement. Seeing people again fills him with overwhelming joy. He stays in the village for several days, and the villagers look after him warmly. Then one day, a letter arrives in the village. It is from the same prison warden. In the letter, he warns that a German soldier has escaped from prison and anyone who gives him shelter will be treated as a traitor. The moment Clement hears this, he understands the danger. If he stays any longer, these innocent villagers could suffer because of him. So even though he has finally found safety, he is forced to leave. Before he goes, the villagers help him with food and supplies. They also give him a hunting dog. Now, Clement is no longer completely alone on this journey. The dog becomes his companion, and for the first time in a long while, the loneliness feels a little less crushing. The two of them travel together for many days. During the journey, they come across a wooden factory. The dog runs toward it, probably searching for food, and Clement follows him inside. The workers there quickly recognize that something is unusual about him and take him to the owner. Clement tells them his whole story. After hearing what he survived, they feel sorry for him. They feed him and put him on a train that is heading toward Germany. At last, Clement feels genuine hope again. He believes he may finally be close to home. But he has no idea that the factory owner secretly passes news about him to the warden. On the other side, the warden arrives at the station with soldiers and waits for the train. Before the train reaches the station, Clement notices Russian soldiers in the distance. In an instant, he realizes what is happening. The moment he gets a chance, he jumps from the moving train and runs. Unfortunately, the soldiers spot him right away and begin chasing after him. Clement rushes across the tracks as fast as he can. Then all of a sudden, the warden steps right in front of him. The sight shakes him badly because it feels like all those years of struggle are about to end right here. But in that same moment, his dog lunges at the warden and bites him. Clement does not waste the chance. He turns and runs again. A gunshot rings out behind him. When Clement looks back, he sees his dog lying dead on the ground. The loss breaks his heart, but he cannot stop now. He keeps running with everything he has left. Finally, he reaches a bridge and jumps down onto the roof of a train passing underneath. Just like that, he escapes the warden once again. More time passes and Clement keeps pushing forward through this endless journey. Before long, the year becomes 1922. By now, 7 full years have passed since he escaped from prison. At this point, he is somewhere in Central Asia, wandering through a village fair. The place is full of food stalls and delicious smells. He wants badly to eat something, but he does not have a single coin in his pocket, so he forces himself to walk away. Then he notices 2 young women selling pancakes at the fair. He keeps looking at them, but because he has no money, he quietly starts to leave. One of the girls feels sorry for him and breaks off a piece of pancake for him. At first, Clement feels a little awkward, but then he smiles, thanks her, and eats it. Also at the fair, there is a wealthy man who sees the entire moment. Later, Clement goes into a church and that same man follows him there. It turns out the man was once a prisoner too. Because of that, instead of handing Clement over to the police, he decides to help him. He takes Clement to his home, where for the first time in years, Clement shaves and begins to look like his old self again. After that, the man gives him a new passport so he can cross the Russian border and reach Germany. Clement is deeply grateful for this act of kindness. After thanking him, he sets off toward the border between Russia and Germany. A few weeks later, he finally gets there. Standing in front of a Russian guard, Clement hands over the passport and waits for the moment that could change everything. At that moment, Clement is terrified. He is afraid the guard might recognize him or discover that the passport is fake, but once again, luck stays on his side. The guard looks at the passport without any real suspicion and allows him to cross. The second Clement hears that, he can hardly contain his happiness. After everything he has survived, he is finally standing at the point where freedom feels real. Soon he reaches the bridge that will take him into Germany. Step by step, he starts walking forward. But when he gets about halfway across, a harsh light suddenly hits his eyes. He looks up and freezes. Standing in front of him is the warden. In panic, Clement turns back for a second and realizes something awful. He is still on Russian ground. That means the warden can arrest him right now if he wants. In that instant, Clement feels completely crushed. After so many years of suffering, sacrifice, and near death, it seems like everything is about to end right here. But then, something happens that even Clement never expected. The warden slowly steps aside and allows him to keep going. At first, Clement can barely believe it. Even then, he moves forward carefully, almost afraid this might be some cruel trick. But it is real. The warden has finally chosen not to stop him. Deep down, he has become impressed by Kleeman's will to survive and by the unbelievable courage that kept him alive through every impossible situation. As Kleeman leaves, the warden says one final thing. This battle was only between two soldiers. One was me and one was you, and you won. Now go and live your life. With those words behind him, Kleeman crosses the border and finally reaches his homeland, Germany. Sometime later, he arrives near his home. From a distance, he sees his wife and daughter. The sight is almost too much for him to process. After all these years, they are right there in front of him. A little while later, the two of them leave the house and start walking toward church. Kleeman quietly follows them all the way there. He still does not call out to his daughter. Maybe he is overwhelmed, or maybe he cannot believe this moment is truly happening. His daughter, after all, has always carried the hope that one day her father would return. Then suddenly she turns around, and in that moment, she recognizes him. She runs straight to Kleeman and throws her arms around him. After all these years, the moment finally feels real. His wife sees him alive and cannot contain her joy either. For so long, they lived with pain, hope, and uncertainty, and now all of that breaks at once into pure emotion. Finally, the three of them hold each other close. After years of suffering, loss, and survival, Kleeman has at last made it back to his family. And with that, this film based on a true story comes to an end. I would like to say to those of you who have continued watching the video till the end, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then do so now, because if you don't subscribe, you will miss out on such interesting and unique movie recaps. And if you have any favorite movie of mine, please let me know in the comments. Thank you.